I call Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me begin, if I may, by paying a tribute to the Minister, Tim Grosser, for his personal skill and that of his predecessors, Phil Goff and others, in endeavouring to advance New Zealand's national interest in the trade negotiations. May I then also express my considerable appreciation to the previous speaker, Pete Hodgson, for his very thoughtful and constructive comments, and I should say inclusive in the sense of seeking to strike up a constructive debate on this quite complex matter. I appreciate his concern about Green Party policy on the question of trade. He is correct when he observes that the Green Party is not anti-trade per se, and that in fact we simply harbour considerable concerns about certain aspects of certain free trade agreements, some agreements of which we believe do not meet the required standards to attract our support. And let me seek to respond constructively and advance the debate by offering our views on this matter. I look to the stated purposes of the Free Trade Agreement as they are set out in the National Interest Analysis. I look to the report of the relevant committee which identifies the stated reasons for the Free Trade Agreement, and I listened to the Minister this afternoon. And in a sense, the Minister summarises it, because I do not have much time. We are, he says, a small export-driven dependent economy. Increased market access is critical to stimulate our economic growth. That, in essence, is the rationale, so stated, for for all free trade agreements, whether it is China or with the ASEAN Australian agreement or others. The first fundamental critique we have to offer is what we take to be obsessive concern about economic growth and commercial opportunity, which we do not hold as the same absolute, untramelled, uncritically unquestioned value that the government does. We do not dispute the need for sustainable economy. We do question the need for economic growth if it risks being unsustainable. That is the fundamental premise to be debating. It is not drawn out properly in the national interest analyses. Let me become more specific. To respond to Mr. Hodgson, New Zealand, the Green Party is composed of rational individuals who will be prepared to switch policy if our concerns were properly refuted or decently answered. Let me offer 4 questions for the government, and for that matter, the Labour Party, to answer convincingly. The first is the following. Why does the national interest analysis not include, in the disadvantages section, an estimate of the increased volume of trade in tonnage, not currency, in tonnage, and the increased greenhouse gas emissions that will ensue as a result of that increased tonnage? Second question. Many of our domestic manufacturers are in a precarious economic position currently, finding it difficult to compete with the lower wage structure of their Asian competitors. We are concerned in the Green Party that further phasing out of protections envisaged in this agreement could well lead to more factory closures in New Zealand. On the 3rd of March, the Minister, Tim Grosser, welcomed the recent free trade initiatives as, quote, good news for the New Zealand economy. He dismissed concerns that free trade agreements, including the China agreement, and for that matter the ASEAN one, will do businesses out of work in New Zealand. He says these concerns have zilch to do with free trade agreements and international trade. So the second question to the Minister is, would he please define zilch and explain why there is no causal relationship between free trade agreements and business closures in New Zealand? Third question, the services and investment provisions in the agreement are also of concern. Under this agreement, firms based in the ASEAN countries must be allowed to provide the full range of financial services here, even those instruments that are currently under such scrutiny and criticism around the world. The agreement locks in light-handed regulation of the finance sector and capital markets, which is at the root of the global economic crisis. So the third question is, does the Minister agree with that observation? And if not, why not? And finally, we are concerned in the Green Party at the agreement's application to Burma in view of the Burmese democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi's call for economic sanctions. At a time when the United States and the EU have responded to that call with sanctions, New Zealand firms under this agreement are being encouraged to invest in Burma, and these investments are being given further protection. So the fourth question is, what does the Minister have to say to Suu Kyi? Will she be satisfied with his claim that this is good for the New Zealand economy? Is that enough? I thank you.